Hello everyone, this is Pooka and welcome to the top 4 of the Castleton, Indiana City Championship. In this match we have Adam Vernola on the left and Randy Bellew on the right. Now I don't know too much about Randy. I've played against him once or twice. That's really all I know about him besides that. Adam I've known for a very long time. He's been a solid player for as long as I can remember. He's been a multiple time Worlds competitor. He's won I think actually multiple regional championships in the past. So, also a player we've featured on our games before. So, should be a somewhat familiar face to people at this point, and we should have a pretty good matchup here. Now, Adam is playing an Eelektrik deck with Rayquaza, and a little twist is he has the Victini in there, which Ross Cawthon kind of popularized at the regional championships this year. Some other people were playing it, but Ross was the one who really put that Victini on the map. Adam is still using that here. And he also uses Keldeo EX in his deck. And it's kind of, I want to say it's a little bit different of a build than what you would normally see in terms of Eelektrik decks, but overall still a very solid deck, and we'll get to see Eelektrik is still alive and well, even though Landorus EX is in the format. And Randy, he will be using a Tornadus Landorus deck, and also he plays Terrakion right there as well. So we're going to see how this matchup plays out. It's going to be tough to tell. Interesting that Adam did go right for that Raikou EX. Wasn't expecting to see that in this matchup because, well, you see the Terrakion right there. Usually when you see a Terrakion, you don't really go for Raikou, but at the same time, Adam is seeing, okay, Tornadus EX. That's going to be an easy 2 prizes for my Raikou, and then I should be able to just go from there. Clean up 2 more EXs and win the game. Seems like a solid plan. The goal for Randy has to be, alright, I want to get my Landorus EX out immediately, or at least start attacking with Tornadus to knock out a couple Tynamos. Eventually, you just want to wipe all the Tynamos out of play. Eelektriks, when they evolve, take away Adam's energy acceleration because most of his attackers are just going to discard the energy. You know, when you have Rayquaza EX, you have to Dragon Burst. You'll have to discard all of your lightning energy to do damage. When you have Raikou EX, same thing. Volt Bolt, you have to discard your lightning. And then you have to refuel it with Eelektrik. They work very well together. Eelektrik allows you to recharge your Pokemon. But if you simply go for the Eelektriks, knock those out, then they can't recharge their attackers and they're just kind of left sitting there wondering how to attack again. So this is the general goal against most Eelektrik decks. We see Darkrai decks feature this the most. But Landorus is the same concept. You know, it just does 30 and 30 with Hammerhead, but Tynamo and Eelektrik are both weak to Landorus, so it actually does 60 to the active and 30 to a bench Pokemon. A lot of people thought that Landorus would just mean the death of Eelektrik decks, but we'll see if that's the case here. As here we go, Randy right off the bat, he's going to switch into his Landorus EX and pretty much just Hammerhead, knock out one Tynamo, and hit another one for 30. And this is going to be a pain in the butt for Adam to deal with, that's for sure. Now, again, Adam has this Raikou EX out here. He could maybe use that to Thunderfang and try to buy some time. Of course, that does do a whopping 0 damage to a Landorus EX with an Eviolite. Minus 20 for the resistance, minus 20 for the Eviolite. Not a good combo, but if it can buy you some time to charge up maybe like a Rayquaza EX so you can Dragon Burst for a knockout, then it'll be nice. Randy did have to burn 1 switch already. Your way to get out of paralysis is, of course, the switch, just to bypass the status effect. With Victini's Victory Star in play, you do get to, you know, just kind of reflip. You give yourself a 75% chance of getting a knockout. Or not getting a knockout, to paralyze someone. Well, eventually, if you keep paralyzing them, you will knock them out. But the Victini's Victory Star allowing you to reflip for the paralysis is really helpful in this kind of a situation. And Adam is just going to go ahead and catch up Terrakion. I guess he's going to force Randy to have a switch here. And then he's going to draw 7 off of this Juniper. Now, interesting that he did not play a switch. Adam had the opportunity to do so and just kind of take the guaranteed Thunderfang this turn. But instead, I guess he draws a Sky Arrow Bridge, which will allow him to do that anyway. I think he was going for an Eelektrik here, and he just did not have it. And now it's going to be a little troublesome for Adam if Randy is able to get a switch and then catcher a Tynamo that was not damaged yet. Because Adam does not have an Eelektrik. This is where Landorus becomes extremely dangerous for the electric decks. If you can get a double knockout, knock out 2 Tynamos at once, that is really painful. That is something no electric player wants to deal with. Just losing 2 Tynamos, you're going to be down 3 prizes by the second turn. So this is really, really dangerous for Adam. You know, this next turn is going to be big. But he just goes for the Thunderfang. Misses the first paralysis flip and misses the second. But honestly, those flips don't matter at all. Terrakion is not going to attack this turn. And he's definitely not going to retreat this turn. So if you're going to flip 2 tails at any point, that's really the one that makes the difference. So, who knows? Doesn't look like Randy actually has much, though, so this could be a problem for him. I don't see any switch in his hand. I don't see a catcher either. I don't even see a supporter. He's got 2 double colorless, an energy switch, a fighting, and yeah, well, a whole lot of nothing. He decides to attach to the Landorus EX. I think I would prefer to just have him attached to the active Terrakion. You know, that way you just kind of say, alright, if you don't knock out this Terrakion, next turn I'm going to energy switch and just land crush and take my 2 prizes and smile about it. If you do take out the Terrakion, then I don't have to use a switch getting him out of there. So, then I'll just use Landorus and start picking off your Tynamos again. Either way is a good situation for me. But now what can happen is Adam can just kind of sit here and go, alright, your Terrakion stuck. I'm going to use Volt Bolt on your bench. And I'm going to force you to draw that switch. Otherwise, I'm just going to take 2 prizes. Taking out your Tornadus, your Landorus. This is where Raikou can be good. And we'll see if Adam can pull this off. Now, he does still have this this Raikou out here. And it looks like here comes Keldeo EX. Now, this is not a card we see too often in electric decks. He hasn't benched it quite yet, but he's thinking about it. I think it would be a good move, and yep, he puts it down. Now, this is nice for a couple of reasons in the electric deck. Number one is it can kind of give you a free switch with Rush In. You know, just being able to rush in, and then you can Dynamo to the thing you want to. And then it only has a 1 retreat cost, so you can just kind of retreat back to the thing you want. It could save you a switch in a lot of situations. The other thing is it gives you nice type coverage against Landorus EX, and Adam will go ahead and Volt Bolt the Landorus for 80 damage. So not too bad. I mean, it's not the most efficient thing in the world, but that's alright. But Randy does top deck this Skyla. That's going to be a big deal. And again, this is why I would have preferred to see Randy attached to the active Terrakion instead of attaching to the Landorus the previous turn. But he's going to grab this switch. He's going to have to, you know, put his Landorus in harm's way now. Whereas before he would have just been attacking with a non-EX Terrakion and land crushing for an easy knockout. Now he's got to use Land's Judgment and discard both of his fighting. And he's probably going to get knocked out by the Keldeo next turn, so overall just not a good situation for him. But he needs to do something. He doesn't have too many cards in his hand that he can work with, so he's got to take these 2 prizes here. It's a pain to have to discard those 2 energy for the extra 10 damage you need. Or the extra 10 you need to knock that thing out, but you have to do it here. Otherwise, you know, that Raikou just kind of gets away. And maybe Adam plays Max Potion or something like that. So, yeah, Randy making the right move with the Land's Judgment there. It does do 80 times 2 to the Raikou, but if you discard all your fighting, it does plus 70. So he just hit that Raikou for a whopping 300 damage. And, well, I mean, it's gone forever, folks. It is knocked out. So we'll see what Adam decides to respond with. He does have that Keldeo EX. The Eviolite on the Landorus is helping out a ton. You know, it prevented the 20 damage from the Raikou EX, and once again, it's going to prevent Keldeo from knocking him out, unless Adam can manage to get a Prism Energy or a Tool Scrapper. If he gets a Prism, he can just put it onto Keldeo EX and go ahead with Secret Sword to knock him out. If he draws a Tool Scrapper, he can just hit it for 100 with 3 Lightning Energy, or he can just get a Fire for his Rayquaza EX and a Dragon Burst for... He only needs to do 100 damage, so he can discard just 2 Lightning, and that would be a knockout. So I think Adam is just kind of doing the math here, trying to see, alright, how many energy do I need to discard with Rayquaza? And it looks like it's going to be 2. So he's only going to have to Dynamotor 2. Interesting that he decided to promote Tynamo at the beginning of the turn. I definitely would have just promoted Victini, because it's always going to have free retreat regardless of whether or not you evolve the active. It's not a big deal since he could just rush in with Tynamo. But definitely just use the Victini if you're at him there. I mean, why not? You don't have to waste your time with all this rush-in nonsense. But now, I guess he's going to play a Super Rod. He's going to get that Raikou EX back. And a Tynamo as well. So I guess he really wants that Raikou EX back. I'm assuming that's the only lightning attacker he really has in his deck. Which is why he would want that back. You know, to knock out the Tornadus EX for 2 prizes at some point. You know, get it like his last 2 prizes. Just a cheap, easy knockout for 2 prizes, since Tornadus is weak to lightning. But this is going to be a big swing for Adam. It might look bad. He is down 3 prizes at this point, but don't be fooled. This is actually a great situation for Adam. He's going to knock out this Landorus EX, and what does Randy have? He has no energy in play. He has, well, not really a supporter in his hand. He doesn't have another Landorus EX to work with. He basically just has Tornadus EX, which, well, I guess he does have another Landorus. But the problem here is Adam now has the dreaded 3 Eelektriks in play. Now, why does that matter? Well, what's going to happen next turn? No matter what Randy attacks with, Adam is just going to go, okay, I will rush in with Keldeo, Dynamotor 3 times to my Rayquaza, retreat, and Dragon Burst for 180 damage. And knock out an EX. So Randy, yep, he is just using Blow Through for 60. And yet, at this point, this game, I mean, honestly, just like that, Adam is just so far ahead right now in terms of setup that this game might be over. As weird as that sounds. Just like that, it just kind of swung from, oops, there's a Landorus pounding down on my Tynamos, to, alright, I'm knocking out an EX every turn. No big deal. So, yeah, that's the spot we're in right now. Adam is deciding to catcher the Landorus instead of just knocking out the Tornadus. Not sure how I feel about that. I don't think there's much of a difference there. Might want to save your catcher for a better time, but I don't think it actually matters here. He's just going to knock out 2 EXs, and really he's just going to take 6 prizes in 3 turns. Honestly, that's really what I see happening here. I don't see anything else that's going to occur in this game. And if you're Randy, you're just kind of scratching your head trying to figure out how things got to this point. He doesn't even have any, like, Hail Mary plays. Like, there's no... He can't even catch out an Eelektrik, because if he does, Adam can just rush in. If he does a catcher, he could knock out an Eelektrik with Blow Through, the one that has 30 on it already. That's one way he could survive the turn. Otherwise, he is done for, and yeah, I think this game is just over unless he has. Well, he would need either a plus power to Power Blast for the knockout, or a catcher to knock out an Eelektrik. Otherwise, the same thing's going to happen. Rush in, triple Dynamotor to that Rayquaza, and then Dragon Burst for the knockout. I guess Randy is retreating to his Terrakion, which is the way he would survive this turn. I do like that. And this is also why I just wanted Adam to save the catcher the previous turn. Like I said, I don't think it'll matter that much, but you never know. There could be some funky stuff happening where you end up losing this game. And you could have just had it won if you had the catcher. I don't know if Adam has another one in his hand, but sometimes people get trigger happy with their Pokemon catchers. You know, they just see something they want to take and they're just like, I'll just use it this turn. But a lot of the time, you're better off just kind of saving it for a better time. This is probably one of those situations. But we will see Adam play an Ultra Ball, and I honestly think this game is over no matter what. Because we did see the Raikou EX is still is shuffled back in Adam's deck, which means at some point if that Tornadus attacks, it's going to get knocked out. There's nothing Randy can really do at this point. The Raikou is in Adam's hand. And he's just going to take the opportunity to knock out the Terrakion. He's going to retreat and Dynamotor it to the Keldeo. He's just going to discard 2 for the Dragon Burst. Go down to 1 prize. And now this is just a matter of time, I would think. Now Randy does draw a Skyla, so he's got 2 options for this one. Number 1 is to grab a plus power, I suppose, and then just Power Blast for the knockout. But I feel like this probably isn't the best option, knowing that Adam played an Ultra Ball and grabbed Tynamo, so he probably has his Rayquaza, or he probably has his Raikou EX in his hand, which means if you knock out this Rayquaza, you just instantly lose to a Volt for 200 damage. Instead, I prefer the catcher route. Grab a catcher, bring up the Eelektrik, and go with that. You know, just knock it out with blow through. And then next turn, if Adam, you just kind of cross your fingers. You hope Adam doesn't have an energy in his hand to use Dragon Burst. And, well, it looks like he would have anyway. But I think that was his best shot of winning. Just kind of hope that Adam didn't have an energy in his hand for Dragon Burst. And then maybe next turn you could grab a plus power and Power Blast for the game, because he was down to 1 prize at that point. But alas, didn't work out for Randy, and Adam will take the first game. A very quick game, honestly. This is a very fickle matchup, you know. It really hinges on how quickly the Eelektrik player can get those Eelektriks into play. If the Landorus player, well, honestly, going first matters a lot too. If the Landorus player can go first with a Hammerhead to knock out some Tynamos is going to be huge, but that was game 1, so let's just skip all this shuffling and get on to game 2. Alright, so we're getting all ready here for game number 2 in the top 4 of the Castleton, Indiana City Championship. Now, Randy did lose the first game, and we see Adam does mulligan here, so Randy will get an extra card. But Randy did lose the first game, so he can choose who goes first in the second game. And if you have any common sense at all, you will then choose to go first, because going first is a complete advantage. No drawbacks. You can just play whatever you want going first. It's not like the old days where there were some restrictions. In the past, you could not play trainers, supporters on the first turn. But nowadays, it's anything goes on the first turn. You just cannot evolve on the first turn. That's about it. So we'll see. If you're Randy, you got to be thinking, all right, that was kind of a brutal first game. Started off strong for me, but then, you know, I started off with that Tornadus EX, which is not a good card to start with in this matchup, unless you can get the turn 1 blow through to knock out a Tynamo. But Adam ended up going first, which really weakens Randy's deck in this matchup. A lot of it hinges on who goes first, just because it could be the difference between Eelektrik evolving or, a Dynamo get knocked out. I mean, imagine the difference between being able to evolve a Dynamo and having 3 knocked out by the second turn by a Landorus EX. So, a lot of things change just based on who goes first. And also depends on the starting Pokemon, honestly, for Randy. Obviously, he's going to be wanting to start with that Landorus EX in this matchup. But who knows, it might not happen. In fact, I think I saw he started with a Bouffalant instead. But we're going to get this game underway. In terms of just general psychology going into a game number 2, if you lose the first game, it's not the end of the world, honestly. It's just, well, you lost a game. So what? You can win the next 2. It's not a big deal. No need to worry about anything. Just kind of suck it up and say, alright, we'll get the next one. Not a big deal. We'll win this one and then we'll win the next one. You've won plenty of games to get to this point. And there's no reason to feel like you can't win anymore. Just because you lose one game. I mean, he's won a bunch of games in the Swiss rounds. He won his top 8 match. So just because you lose one game is no reason to get down on yourself. You can easily come back and win the next 2. I've seen it happen a million times. So we will see Randy go ahead and go for the Landorus EX right away. He switched for the Landorus, and then he's going to play this Bianca for 3 cards. Now, he played a computer search, and he actually just showed at him when he got this. Is something a lot of people do. I have a feeling once people get used to computer search, they'll stop doing it, but a lot of people just play the computer search and show their opponent what they get when you really don't have to. You can kind of leave the mystery there. You don't have to show them what you got, but it's not really that big of a deal. But Adam will catch out this Bouffalant to try to buy some time. These are very useful tactics from Adam's side, because his key to winning is just going to be time. If he has enough time to set his stuff up, eventually he will overpower Randy's deck, because he'll just have Rayquaza EX attacking every turn with Dragon Burst, and just kind of getting one-hit knockouts every turn. So Randy, the key for him is to knock out Dynamos before Adam can get set up, or at least get so far ahead that that Adam can't come back. And if you're Adam, it's just doing these little things like catching up a Bouffalant, trying to make Randy slow down as long as possible so that you can just kind of set up your stuff and do what you want to do. So now we do see Adam going for Celestial Roar and missing horribly. He discards an Eelektrik, a Sky Arrow, and looks like a random receiver as well. So that's probably not what he wanted to do. And we see Randy has a switch for his Bouffalant, a catcher for the Dynamo, and all of a sudden things are not looking good for Adam. We do see Random puts a double colorless on the Bouffalant as well, and he has a Juniper this turn. He could play that and get a fresh hand of 7. Should probably see him do that here. But he decides not to. He actually just decides to Hammerhead for a knockout and then 32 Dynamo. I guess he has a plus power he doesn't want to discard, maybe? Or maybe a Tool Scrapper. Anticipating Adam to put down an Eviolite, and he doesn't want to see that. So he decides to hold on to that stuff instead of playing the Juniper. I think I would have preferred to just see him play the Juniper to give himself more cards to work with, so that next turn he improves his odds of drawing into a Pokemon catcher, so he can continue to knock out these Dynamos. If Adam puts down another Dynamo, evolves this one, and Randy doesn't have a catcher, he can start to get in some trouble. But we'll see. Now Adam does catcher out this Bouffalant. It's got a double colorless. I did like that Randy attached the DCE there last turn, just in case Adam decided to catcher him again. Now he's not forced to have a switch in order to get this thing to the bench. He can just retreat if he wants to. Sure, retreating the double colorless is a little painful, but I think it's better to have that there so that you can retreat and not lose a turn of attacking. So we do see the Keldeo EX from Adam. He's going to start powering up that bad boy there. He does play Prism Energy, so it's going to allow him to power that up with the Water Energy, so Secret Sword can do more. If he gets 2 Prisms on there, he can Secret Sword for 180 against Landorus EX because of the weakness. He will need a Tool Scrapper, though, because that does have an Eevee on it, and that would prevent Keldeo EX from doing enough damage to knock out the Landorus, but just having this Keldeo is a nice little alternate attacker that's not weak to fighting. It's pretty good against Landorus, honestly. And we'll just see if Adam can continue to set up here, or if Randy can keep attacking and prevent Adam from really getting anywhere. So we see a Computer Search that's going to grab a Tynamo from Adam. I like that. He recognizes that he needs to get more of those into play. He can't just keep having them knocked out one by one. Eelektrik is really strong once you get those multiple Eelektriks into play. When you can get 2 extra attachments per turn. When you can get the maybe like 2 or 3 Dynamotors onto Rayquaza EX every turn, that's where it gets really strong. Otherwise, it's not that great. So we'll see Randy retreat his Bouffalant with the double colorless. He actually attaches another one and retreats. Plays 2+ powers and a Juniper. So I'm not sure how much I like the retreat there. If you're Randy, you play 2+ powers. If you draw a catcher off this, I actually would have preferred just taking the knockout on that Rayquaza EX. Since you already did 30 to it, you could have used Goldbreaker for 140, gotten down to 3 prizes, and then at some point you can just knock out a couple of Eelektriks and win the game. You also force Adam to have a way to knock out your Bouffalant, which does not give up 2 prizes. It's just a normal Pokemon. It's not an EX. So if you're going to use those 2+ powers, you were holding on to them. Didn't Juniper the previous turn? At least I don't think he did. I think he just held it. He didn't play a supporter the previous turn. So if you're going to do that, I mean, why did you hold on to the hand in the first place? Maybe to trick your opponent into not playing an N or something like that, but I don't know. I'm never going to fault someone for knocking out an Eelektrik, but there it seemed okay to just kind of take the 2 prizes, take the Rayquaza EX out of play, take the Fire Energy out of play, and force Adam to really have something. So now we see a second Prism Energy. And this is going to be big. This is... oh, wow. Adam actually has a Tool Scrapper in his hand as well. If he has an Eelektrik this turn, he could just go for a Secret Sword for 180 and take this Landorus completely out of play, but it does not look like he has it. He also played a Max Potion on his Dynamo that was big. That will allow it to survive the turn. But it looks like Randy's got a catcher. So another Dynamo's going down here. And it looks like this is just a matter of time before Adam gets grinded down. As long as Randy can keep powering up attackers, I think he'll be okay. He decides to attach a second Fighting. Oh, looks like he's going to the Bouffalant instead. I don't mind that play. There is a good chance he could be knocked out if Adam has a Tool Scrapper. Or I suppose a third Prism Energy could do the trick. So I'd be weary of that. And we're just going to see a Hammerhead knockout, I think. I would like to see him do 30 to the Rayquaza EX, so that he could follow up with Bouffalant to knock out that Rayquaza, and that's exactly what he's going to do. So I like this move by Randy. He's definitely taking the right path here. And he's going to have some trouble in these next couple turns dealing with what Adam's going to throw at him. But he's up 3 prizes. I think he's in a great position. As long as he can keep powering up attackers He has taken away Adam's energy acceleration. Um, and that Rayquaza EX is kind of a sitting duck for a Gold Breaker knockout at some point. So eventually I think we'll see Randy win this game. But Adam will just use Secret Sword for the knockout. And we could see some trouble for Randy if he doesn't get any additional attackers out. But it looks like he does. He's got Bouffalant, he's got Tornadus EX. I mean, he's got a Juniper in his hand. He should probably play that this turn. He needs to get some more energy attachments. Oh, actually, that might be a Skyla instead. Might be wrong. So he's going to go for Skyla instead. Now, he could grab a catcher off of this. If he has a supporter in his hand, I would probably grab the catcher. If he doesn't, I would just grab a supporter here. Just grab like a Juniper and then Gold Breaker for 120. We'll see what he decides to do. It looks like he's in a great spot, but there's a good chance that he could just kind of fizzle out and not be able to take the rest of his prizes. That could happen. It looks like he grabs the catcher, so he's going for the knockout on the Rayquaza EX. And that Gold Breaker is going to be huge. Bouffalant is very, very good against EXs. The only one it's really not good against is Mewtwo EX, because X-Ball can still kind of trade really well with Bouffalant. Only takes 3 energy to knock that out. But we do see the Aspertia City Gym from Randy, so that means that Bouffalant has 120 hit points now, and that Tornadus EX has 190. So, I don't know. It looks like this game should be just about wrapped up, but I don't know if Randy has a supporter in his hand. I can't quite see it. I don't know what Adam is planning to do. He does have this Keldeo EX. It's got 2 prisms on it, so it can do 70. The problem, honestly, is just you can do 70, but then you get hit for 120. So what is your follow-up to that? And it looks like Adam does have an N, so we can N Randy to 1. And yeah, this could actually get pretty dangerous if you're Randy. We'll see what Adam decides to do. There it is, the N, and this is the game changer. It all depends on what Randy draws now, folks. If he can draw, a supporter, or even just a couple energy to power up that Tornadus EX, I think we'll see him win. If not, Adam might make a big comeback here. That's all there is to it. So Adam will get 4, Randy will get 1, and it's honestly just going to come down to top decks at this point. Randy has 1 attacker powered up. He does not have any behind it. So it's honestly just going to come down to this. And we're going to see Adam use Russian with Keldeo. He'll be able to Secret Sword. That'll do 70 damage. And it'll be on Randy to do something here. So there we go. We have the Secret Sword. It does 70. There's 2 prisms, which means it'll do 90 damage. But then minus 20. For Bouffalant's Boofer ability. Randy does have a double colorless, so this is going to make things very tough on Adam. He's going to have to just Gold Breaker here for 120, and then Adam cannot attack with his Keldeo anymore. If he does, he just loses to the Tornadus' Blow Through. And, well, yeah, he just loses. There's not much beyond that. So he's going to have to retreat to the Raikou EX in this situation. And I think best case scenario, he just kind of gets a catcher. Catches out that Tornadus EX. And then uses Thunder Fang to get a knockout after he paralyzes a couple times. Cross his fingers that Randy doesn't have a switch. Honestly, that's his best option at this point. So we see Adam is going to Ultra Ball away a Rayquaza and a switch. He's going to grab a Dynamo. He realizes that, if Randy has a catcher, I just kind of lose anyway. Because my Victini is a sitting duck. Keldeo is a sitting duck. So I'm just going to put down Dynamo. Might as well. There's no downside to it. I'm just going to possibly get an Eelektrik into play and then use Diamotor, which is going to benefit me, obviously. And we'll see if Adam got the catcher. If he didn't, then he's just going to have to go for a Thunder Fang He discards 2 lightning with this Ultra Ball, which I'm not sure how much I like. At this point, you're gonna have to rely a lot on manual attachments if you don't have Eelektriks in play. You also don't have that Sky Arrow Bridge in play, which would be nice to have to give Keldeo a 1 retreat cost. But it looks like he's got a couple more lightning in his hand, so never mind to that. We'll see if Adam does have the catcher in his hand. I'm not too sure, as an ambulance very loudly drives by my house. I apologize for that. I'm sure that got picked up on my microphone. But Randy's the one who's going to need an ambulance soon if his Tornadus gets paralyzed, because he needs to get to a Pokemon Center, because his Pokemon are going to get knocked out soon. Alright, so we got Tails on the Thunderfang. This is a huge flip. And, heads. And looks like... Did Randy draw a switch? It does take 60 damage. What was that card that Randy drew? Can't quite tell. Looks like an energy switch? Yep. So now Randy is in some trouble. I think he'll probably just get knocked out by Volt Bolt this turn, which means that next turn, he could just lose to a Secret Sword from Keldeo. And Adam's going to decide to end Randy to 1 again. I don't know how much I like that move. I guess he's kind of just going for an Eelektrik to kind of power himself up, but he gives Randy a new card, which it could just be a supporter, which, you knew Randy didn't have anything. You knew he didn't have, a supporter. You knew he didn't have, like, a switch or anything. So, kind of a questionable play, but at the same time, it's not bad at all. Because if he gets the Eelektrik into play, he puts Randy on a 1-turn clock to either draw something or lose. That's all there is to it. Also, Randy did have an energy switch and a fighting in his hand, so if he made a miraculous top deck of a Terrakion, he could have retreated, energy switched, and played the fighting and retaliated for the win. So it did take away one of Randy's options, and it could all come down to this. I mean, this could be a huge comeback for Adam. Just like that, you can see the power of N. Putting your opponent down to 1 card, and, knocking out their only Pokemon with energy, sometimes that's all you need. And I think that's just what's going to happen here. We're going to see Volt Bolt for a knockout on the Tornadus EX, take 2 prizes, and then Randy's just going to promote that Bouffalant. If he doesn't have another Pokemon, he can't knock out a Raikou. So he's either going to need a catcher or another Pokemon. Otherwise, he's going to lose this game. So it all comes down to this. What does Randy have? He top decks the Juniper. Oh no, this could be horrible for Adam. If Randy draws the catcher, this is game over. So what does he draw? I don't see a catcher. But we do see a Mewtwo EX in his hand. So that could be good. The only thing Randy cannot do is bench that Landorus. If he does, he's going to lose. All it takes is a Prism and a catcher from Adam, and he loses the game. And Randy's going to put down the Landorus. Is he going to do it? That's such a dangerous move. I would not do that if I were him. That's just such a risky play. You open up the game for Adam, and he puts it down. Now this could be the game-ending maneuver for Randy. He actually retreats to the Landorus EX, so it does not even force Adam to have a catcher. All he needs is a Prism to win the game. Of course, he would need the 4th one. But if you're Randy, I don't think you ever want to put yourself in this situation. Why would you do this? And Adam top decks the Prism. All he has to do is rush in and Secret Sword for the game, and somehow Adam Vernola will take this game and move on to the finals and the Castleton, Indiana City Championship. A questionable play there from Randy at the end, putting up that Landorus EX. That's probably the only Pokemon in your deck that Adam can knock out in 1 hit. And you decided to put it in the active spot and gave your opponent a chance to win. It was probably unlikely that he would top deck that to win, but he did it. And now Adam is moving on to the finals. So congratulations to Adam. Congratulations to Randy as well. You know, he got really far in this really tough tournament, but at the end of the day, the Eelektrik deck moves on to the finals over the Landorus deck, and we will have the finals for you guys soon. I'm Pooka from the Top Cut. Hope you guys enjoyed this series, and I will see you next time.